discuss the changes in the city council committees charter. I mean, it goes through the 10 committees that we actually represent the city through. So it would be charter rules, and I see there's a little error here. It should say procedures RFP. That was my mistake. RFP, and we're going to go through them so that we can explain where the changes are and probably some reasoning behind that. But I would say before that, I would just want to say that the reason why we're doing this is so that the city council and and their committees can reflect the growth and the direction the city is going, so we can better represent ourselves and the city and our residents through these committees. We just want to have a more efficient and better representation of what we do. I think the city and the council have both been growing a lot in the past few years, and we just need to make sure that we're reflecting those changes. And, you know, if there's one thing I learned from President Hudson, you know, is to be aligned with changes and making sure that we're, you know, walking side by side to those. So what we're doing at this point, we are continuing to have 10 committee meetings, or 10 committees at council, which to be able to do that, what we did was consolidate charter rules procedures RFP with intergovernmental services consolidation. Instead of those being two separate committees, it will be a one committee. That way we can keep 10 as usual. Then we have economic development and opportunity. Then we have education. Here's a little change here. Education, human resources, and we added community advancement, which all that is, it's to reflect so that we can see in a separate way the allocations we do to the non-for-profits that come support our city programs or that we support with their programs, so that we can have a better following of, after the allocations, how that money, you know, has impacted our community. If there are improvements, we need to see some kind of reports of the money we're putting in our community's hands to do their work, which we gladly support. Then we have finance, taxation, and assessment. And, oh, I'm sorry, I should have distributed this. I kept them all to myself. Sorry about that. Then we have neighborhood preservation, and we just added the word housing support and redevelopment, because right now I think that is a very important committee that needed to reflect the housing support and the redevelopment in the communities that we are engaging ourselves in approvals and things of that nature. Then we have the parks, recreation, young youth programs, and veteran affairs. That's the same. We have public safety. A small change that we're making is from DPW, Public Works. It used to be Public Works and transportation, and then the public transportation was public transportation / airport. So what we're doing is we're going to have a public transportation committee, so that if there's anything from SMTC or airport, which is things that we attend to but we don't really have a say on, they will be canalized through public transportation, but it's mostly so that we can keep an eye on our local programs like BROs, rapid transit, and those kinds of things, and wherever that grows, right? And then the one thing that we're adding to these committees is the technology and operational efficiency. Why we're doing this committee is because present time, the transformation of the city in terms of its technology and how departments are now operating. We've been receiving through different departments a lot of information that I think it would be best served if we canalize this through one committee so we can see the whole instead of the information diluted into different departments and presentations, so that we can do more informed decisions, so we can ask better questions, make sure we understand what we're approving or not. So those are the committees. I would entertain any questions.
I think, Counselor, I know traditionally that the committees were sort of like aligned along departments. So the delineation of that would have to remain clear. Am I correct there, Joe? Years ago, I think these were all aligned towards city departments. more or
Yes,
less.
yes, yes, they
Yes,
were.
that's been the historic.
And the reason and the public transportation, which seems to come up quite a bit in my council district. So in other words, our appointments to the central board, they would go through that committee?
Yes,
That's how you envision it?
yes.
Okay, that's good. And then I also think that now, as you mentioned in our previous conversation, service consolidation. When I was chair of this committee back my first go-around with the city council, we did have some, and I'm sure President Hudson remembers this, we did have some meetings on some consolidation, some cooperation between the county and the city. And we had both sides of the county legislators, both the Republican and the Democratic side, participated in that. Why I'm not calling for any consolidation, it did open up a lot of avenues that we could discuss as far as cooperation, especially with the Parks Department.
And to your point, Councilor Hogan, I think, through that and all of the other committees as well, there are things that I'm learning that were part of things we used to do and somehow got diluted or just weren't at the table anymore. And I think that, they are also important, and maybe we can figure out, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I was meeting with somebody yesterday, and they were talking about the Veteran Affairs, Parks, Recreation, Youth Programs, and Veteran Affairs. Since I've been in council, unfortunately, we don't really do that much for Veterans Affairs. But in the past, I hear that there were events in the parks and activities related to veterans in certain times of the year that the city would promote and put out there. And so those are things that I think are, those are things that I think would be great to bring back to the table. And since we have it in our committees, it's perfectly fine to do that.
I think it's good to be flexible and to sort of align some of these departments with what we envision for this future of the city. I think the education, workforce, and community advancement, I'm sure all the other counselors have the same concerns that I do about our workforce being prepared for what's going to happen in this community at large.
Correct.
So that would take a lot of, and I know we all have relationships with the city
And-
school district, but I mean,
Yes.
it's really going to be important, whoever chairs that committee.
And also, most importantly, the city HR is going through a major payroll modernization that, it's going to be so important to have that very clear at the table. So we need somebody strong to lead that. And I think that by making these committees this way, that would help us do that.
I think to what Councilor Hogan said too, with that community advancement, if you turn on the news or you watch the newspaper, we're seeing that the answer to all of our problems is going to be Micron in this perfect world where they come in
Yes.
and sweep in and take care of everything. But the big question that is sitting out there is when we build Micron, 12 or 15 miles from here in Clay, how are we going to get people out there? How are we going to get people educated so they can accept the jobs at Micron, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure that anybody is thinking about that in the way that they should be thinking about that. So I think that community advancement piece, as well as what you said, Councilor Paniagua, about getting reports from some of the nonprofits that we give money to every year. I know that TNT has been good about giving an annual report, but there are other organizations which we give. what looks like small amounts, and I'm kind of beating President Hudson's drum here because she has always said this, we need to know what you're doing with those little pots of money that we give you because we give it to you every year. So, and I'm not saying that they're not doing their job, but certainly Focus and Neighborhood Watch and those ones that we are continuing to uphold and support, we would like to hear more from them. So under that
I mean,
committee.
when you apply as a non-for-profit to a foundation, you need to issue a report at the end of the usage of the money. So we would like to have that too.
And I think what Councilor Manto says, as a matter of fact, came up at the county IDA quite a bit as far as the transportation. I've seen the traffic models. Public transportation not only will be important, but it'll be needed and might be somewhat exclusive up there because that's how much traffic's going to be generated by this. And what I mentioned to you was that's been talked to quite a bit is we want to make sure those jobs coming in, our local workforce will be up to the task
Right.
of actually going to work out there.
Correct.
You know, and that's going to be really important as far as, you know, the new STEAM school down the street. So, I mean, I think you've aligned a lot to the future here.
You know, and also these things, you know, we vote on and we make sure that our residents and the people that listen to us are well informed, like you said, Pat, when we met, and I definitely believe in that. So one of the things to that respect that we're working on, as I started doing this, I found out that there's really no committee's descriptions of the work the committees do. So we're right now working on those descriptions. I didn't bring copies of that because they're not final, and this is something I want to run through council before at some point we make them final, so that there's a description of what these committees do, and we're aligning the departments, like you just said, and the departments and the work with the community and collaborations, all of what that entitles to each of these committees. But this is something that is a work in progress, and I would have to bring to councilors before we even put it publicly. So
I'm waiting to I'm trying to think what President Hudson might. What do you think, President Hudson?
No, I think that realigning and being part of the way our city is going is a very good thing. I think that we need to look at it in a holistic way
Right.
so that we can actually cater better to our community. So, yeah.
So I want to be transparent. Yesterday, I met with a gentleman from VO. We had a very long discussion. We were talking about transportation, and we talked about how we're going to make it better. And I thought it was very fruitful. We've had our issues, and he's talking about how they want to expand it, and they've had a lot of mistakes, and they want to work on it. So I talked with Noel Reed yesterday in the office for 90 minutes. And then I had a meeting with the Brownfield Opportunity Area pertaining to Erie Boulevard and the part of my district and the Holly Green area. And we had a lot of discussions where we're going to expand. And again, transportation came up again. And another reason I want to mention is as we expand with transportation, I have mentioned this many times before, how are we going to work with Central, getting more bus services for those who have access to a vehicle. They can't afford an Uber. We have the transportation center on the north side. Again, I think that area is going to be in need of improvements, extensions, and also what we're dealing with Amtrak, the bridges with CNX. They've had some damages being done. So within the transportation, we really have to expand to what was then and what is going to be. And we're going to have more opportunities, I hope, with VO, with Central, with other organizations, dealing with transportation, how we're going to expand to it, though, in other areas of the city where they don't have Central service. In some of our areas on the north side, where they have to walk 2-3 blocks. We have to get Central back into those areas that service the needs of our elderly people and they're very close by at our community centers.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I have two things, but one we've already spoken about, which was the technology and operational efficiency committee. So I guess having more details concerning that committee, because as when we spoke, it was a recommendation for the council to have a consultant in the technology field, and not necessarily a committee. So I guess having like you just said, having more defined terms on what that means, because either way, anything that has to do with technology is going to go to whatever department or committee that department works with. So figuring that out, I guess my second thing would lead to what you just stated, that having those roles defined before presenting this would have been much better. So that a clearer understanding of, I mean, some of it is the same, just a
Right.
little word change.
Right.
But then creating a new one would be more or less where we need to have those definitions.
And Patrona, to your point, the purpose of the committee is, instead of having this come through all different departments, diluted into many different other items, we want to canalize all the departments will bring these items through technology and efficiencies. It's not that it's going to still be, presented through the departments. We're trying to hone on that.
So is that something, Joe, that would happen as far as the way the letters come down from the departments? If it goes from the departments, doesn't it go to the committee that works with those departments? Or would it then be specific to the new committee, which is the IT committee, if it's for IT, but it's from a department that works with an already established committee?
Yeah, Joe Barry, First Assistant Corporation Counsel. So just to maybe following up from Councilor Hogan's initial question and give the legal overview is these committees are really the purview of the council. It's how, under your rules, you want to organize your business. Though, as Councilor Hogan mentioned, custom and practice has been to align them with the departments. There's no legal mandate to do that. So it's really the preference of the council how you want to structure the committees to ensure your oversight role with the departments. As far as the request letters go, the city clerk's office makes that decision based upon when the letter comes in and how best it matches up with the counselor that should be introducing it.
Which is how we do it now.
That's how we do it now.
Yeah. So, and actually, I believe that this will also assist the clerk's office to canalize everything, probably more efficiently, or help with the decision making of where things should go or not. I mean, it's all to be more effective and more defined in what we're doing.
I mean, we have, how many pieces of software, how many different software contracts do we currently have in the city right now?
Exactly.
I think that number it's a different answer every time we ask it, but I think just the payroll modernization project alone would have kept this committee busy for probably the last 8 years.
Exactly what Councilor Monto said. I mean, if you had a committee like this, they could ask, every time we ask about licenses, I practically fall off the chair. Because every department seems to act on its own as far as and gets approval. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes.
And because we see it so scattered, we sometimes don't really see it. This way, we're going to have it all in the same place, and now we can evaluate things differently.
And there's nothing stopping the Madam Clerk back there who just walked in from putting it on two different committees.
I got a wave too.
So a large
It could be
financial.
collaboration.
It
between
could be a
committees,
combination
yes.
for sure.
Yes.
I'm just weeding through stuff.
Yep.
So that's my only thing, that the descriptions, would have been good to go along with the presentation of the committees.
Yeah. So we're working on those, but those maybe we'll bring in for January.
I
because
think
this
they
is
can
our last-
evolve too. I
I'm
mean,
sorry?
Absolutely.
I think that things can evolve,
Exactly.
Just like Counselor Jones-Rouser brought up. I mean, each of these committees, whoever is the chair can say, yeah, I think that's something we need to know, and then give it to the council.
Exactly. Thank you. Any other comments? No? Well, thank you for
Yeah,
joining us.
Thank you.
And so when do you said the descriptions are going to be put together by when?
Oh, probably next week, probably, yeah.
Okay.
So that we can all look at it together, and if anybody wants to add, delete, make changes, that we do that together as a team.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a draft. Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else? Well, thank you, everybody, for joining.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There we go. Thank you.